going to take this and copy it over since we already have that as a selection. Control Shift Alt on that layer 4 and bring it over this way. And we want to clear that. So we're just going to grab the brightest green, 0, 255, and 0. And we're just going to fill that in. The transparency is locked right there. Good. We're going to go halfway to black and shift to cool. And in this case, it will be up towards that bluish color. And it's up to you how far you want to go. Like if we just go a little bit up, it'll kind of give us this evergreen, blue spruce kind of green. Or we can go even further, literally into the blue hue family. And it'll still work. But I want to keep it pretty close to the initial green. So let's grab this. And this time we'll go to the 75. And we're going to shift the hue to warm. So it'll be going down on this. And it's a very subtle change, but this kind of shift in hue will really give that dimension and personality to your paintings, especially if you start to become familiar with it. Through this exercise over and over, you'll have a sort of checklist. If you're wondering why your 3D painting shapes are missing dimensionality or they feel a bit, I guess, lacking, you could ask yourself, well, did I shift the hues? Is it only one hue family? So on and so forth. So let's go towards blue. So it'll be 0, 0, and 255 for the RGB slider. Just going to fill that in. And again, we want that 1, 2, 3 read. We'll go halfway to black. I usually eyeball it, but I'm showing it with the numbers here instead of doing it on the hue cube so that you can see the mathematics behind it. And here we're going to go up to cooler, which in this case will be more towards purple or violet. For this side, just fill that in and then go back to the base. We'll go to 75% of the value, or 25% towards black. But this time we'll be shifting it towards cyan. And it has a nice contrasting pop, right? So even within the blue families or the green families, you can create contrast between shifting of the hues. Now let me show you what it would look like if we didn't shift any of those hues. So it still works, it still reads because the values are right. But if we turn it off, we have that little subtle shift in hue that kind of makes it a little bit more interesting. Let's try it with the green. All right, it works technically, but it's all the same hue, right? And this is the thing that makes things look painterly by shifting the hue when you shift in value. And with red. Yep, that's red being all the same hue and this not being in the same hue. Now, it might be too subtle of a change now. Let's see what happens if we push it. So let's take this color, go back to the hue cube, and make it a little bit brighter and a little bit more towards magenta. But this time we're going to use the airbrush and then have a soft gradient from the bottom towards the top. And we'll use a clipping mask here for that. And if you don't know how to make a clipping mask, let's go ahead and delete these. If you have a new layer above the thing you want to clip it in, let's say we want this to only show up in the cube, you hold Alt between the layer you're on and the layer below it, and you click in between them, it'll lock into that. It's called clipping mask. Cool. So yeah, we wanted just a very subtle gradation from the bottom. And then the same thing over here on this side. A little bit more of yellow. And now we're starting to get that nice pop effect. And when you zoom out, it almost looks like it's a 3D render. I don't think it would look that effective if we had just stayed within the same hue the whole time. We'll do the same thing for the green. Going to make it a little bit cooler. And slightly brighter. And just a very soft gradient from the bottom right. And the same thing here. Gonna make it a little bit brighter and more warm. Right. And if you do this exercise all the way till the end, a couple of times, maybe on some different shapes, on spheres, cones, cylinders, you'll start to develop a sort of familiarity with colors that work well for you. And you'll see what really happens when we start mixing it with cyan, magenta, and yellow. All right, same thing for the blue. Gonna make it a little bit cooler, a little bit brighter.